So at the end of class yesterday, we introduced just this idea of parameters for a method. And we started into kind of introduce the idea that you could actually pass an object of whatever class type you have into a method and let that object be the parameter, right? And we tried to illustrate at the end of class rather than trying to rather than trying to pass, let's say, three variables here, three int variables, well, why don't we just pass the entirety of the P2 object? Why don't we pass all of it in to the method? And then the method has access to anything it wants from the object that got passed to it. So instead of doing this, we are going to set up our method so that I can just hand over the whole object to the compatible method. So what we did here is we declared that the parameter that's going to come in to the method, in this case we'll call it friend, it will be a parameter of the type person, right? So it will match the class. The same way that we saw earlier that we could have a parameter of the type int or parameter of the type double or parameter of the type string. Well, now we can have a parameter of a class type. We can have a parameter of the class type person. Okay. So over here we have what is the compatible method meant to do? It's going to add together the interest scores for each person and then subtract the total for person A from the total from person B. Right? So why don't we'll do a couple of very quick quick variables here. And I'm going to do this for the heck of it. Okay. So here's where we just have to get maybe a little bit of a distinction between which object are we talking about. I'm going to call this P1. Right? This is going to wind up being the total for all of the variables of the object that called the method. What I mean by that is here. What was the calling object? P1 called compatible, and the parameter was P2. Right? So the P1 is the object that's actually calling the compatible method. We'll use P1's compatible. All right. So that's what that is going to mean. And anytime we refer to friend, we're really referring to P2. Right? So that the parameter, if you just look at the position it's in inside of the method call, the P2 really means inside the parameter, inside the method, it really means friend. Okay. So here, because P1 is calling the method, the class itself can refer to its own instance variables. So books, movies, and sports. So we could do this. But we really could do that. Take P1's own books, movies, and sports variables and add them together. Okay. In order to add the friends books, movies, and sports together, we are going to have to refer to the object in this case. Right? So we're going to have to do in this case, I'm going to be lazy here for a second and copy these here. Right? Now we have to distinguish between P1's books and the friend's books. So in this case, we are going to need the object. Right? So here's the object coming in, friend, and now we need to do it here. So now the method can distinguish between the object itself, its variables, and the object that got passed in as a parameter, its variables. This is a really good example of a time when some people would want to use the this object This is also acceptable here. Okay. So if is that help you maybe to visualize where the variables are coming from? Sorry. This is the P1's own books variable versus the friend's books variable. Right? So you have two options there. You can leave the this on and take the this out. It's up to you. Some people like just to see this, so we still keep the object dot variable name or object dot method kind of pattern that we've been working with. All right. So now we've added together the interest scores for each person, and now we want to subtract the total for person A, P1 minus person B. Now we've done that. And here, the method returns 1 if the difference is 3 or less, returns 2 if the difference is less than 6, and returns 3 if the difference is less than 9, and 4 if the difference is anything higher. This is just going to be a series of uh, just some if statements here. I'll pause the video here and finish this so you don't have to watch me type. So here you go. Here is the method filled in. All right, so it returns 1 if the difference is 3 or less. Right, so if difference is less than or equal to 3, please return 1. Else, we'll test again. If difference is less than or equal to 6, return 2. Less than or equal to 9, return 3. And if it's anything higher than 9, we'll return 4. All right. Remember, this is a value returning method, so it needs to have a return statement in there. And yes, you can have 4 return statements in here because only one of these is ever going to be executed. And remember that once, let's say the difference is 2, once this return statement is executed, the method ends. So it would never actually get to any of the other testing going on here. All right. So why don't we take a look at the main program and let's test this to see if this works. I'll just compile this, and we compile with no errors. So what if we came in the main program here and we actually called the compatible method? Right? So P1 called the compatible method. It passed the other object in as its parameter. It checked all the scores and then returned a value 1, 2, 3, or 4 based on how compatible they are. And we put that value into this variable here called comp. I just quickly declared one here. And then we, in the main program here, we actually maybe did that comparison and looked to see if the score was 1. Please print out the person and the person are very compatible. If the comp is 2, print out they're compatible. If the comp is 3, say they're not very compatible. Or if the comp is 4, say that they're not compatible at all. And so we'll just print that on the screen there. And let's see if this works. Right, so I happen to do this, and here Anthony and Mary are very compatible as friends. So there you go.